waited all winter for this.
It's the biggest race we have all year long.
The icons of this sport have all starred on its biggest stage.
It's the great American race. Trust me.
I won the Daytona 500. I won the Daytona 500.
Pull them belts tight one last time, boys. Light the fire.
Big push coming now for Harvick. Oh, and around goes a couple cars. Prix upside down. He's barrel rolling through the grass.
You got plenty of money. Don't need that to keep racing. Is it worth the risk to keep on going?
Sure, to win.
Yeah, welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a James Hamlin type of weekend, because he was the big winner down in Bristol, baby. And you know what else? That's the second pick we got right so far this season. Daytona Ron told you to pick Denny Hamlin going into this race, and god damn it, he was right. But first, make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends. We are live and alive right now on twitch.tv/Bump and Run podcast. And of course, you can listen to every episode every Monday night, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. And you can watch our beautiful faces on YouTube as well. But fellas, how you guys doing? What a snoozer of a race we saw this weekend, huh?
There was a
Such
race
a boring
this
F. First F of the season. Like how do you go A, and then this?
Just an
unbelievable.
F. But fellas, how's your weekend? How you guys doing? What's up?
Doing good. Listen to the show. Great job, fellas. Great job. Although I don't have an epic rant for today as of now, but that could change. Weekend was good. Saturday, I had a dart tournament all day at my local Moose Lodge. Shout out Ross Chastain.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy Bernie, listener of the show, we had a 2-man dart tournament. Started at 11 a.m. and it went into the evening there. So long day of throwing darts and drinking beers, and it was worth it because we ended up winning the entire thing. So
nice. Hell yeah.
Got some cash out of it, got a little bit of bragging rights, you know what I mean? So
sounds like
it was worthwhile.
You don't have to disclose the amount, but did you guys win any money?
Oh yeah. I think it was like $350.
Oh, good. All right, Bernie. So Bernie's doing my patio. Bernie, $350 off my patio, bud.
Unreal.
Take some off the materials, the labor there.
Yeah.
How about you, Matt? How was your weekend? I know you're drinking the green beers yesterday, and you were watching some trucking on Saturday night.
I'll tell you what, man, if you don't carve out time in your life for a little trucking, then you're doing life wrong. You just are, man. There's nothing that gets me going quite like a truck race on a Saturday night, right? Like there was garage beers flowing, there was green beer flowing, there was Guinness flowing. We had Michael up in the booth yelling trucks every 5 words. It was great. It was a fantastic Saturday night.
I love him in the booth for the trucks. Oh, we're going trucking.
I tell you what, I can't wait for some garage beers. The temperature was getting nice last week, and now we're back into the 40s and just frigid cold. Well, not frigid cold, but cold.
Dude, it's just something about, I mean, you guys know, I'm preaching to the choir with you guys, something about a beer outside that just hits differently than in your living room. You know what I mean? So like just talking about getting the patio put in, we're getting a patio put in soon. I just want to stand out there and just drink on it.
Yeah, I hear you. I honestly, like, think about the truck race and stuff like that. And I don't want to invite myself over, Eric, but I've been looking forward to the springtime to break, because I know usually on Friday nights you go, yo, garage is open, trucks on TV, and I'm definitely going to partake this year because I didn't watch enough trucks last year. And this year, I'm making the most of my summer this year. I've already decided it, you know?
I agree, Whitey, because 2 years ago, I felt every week, every other week, we were in my garage watching racing. Last year, man, it was like we never did it. I felt like big races we did, but
Coke 600,
this year,
Darlington, stuff like that.
Yeah, for the main ones that I usually would have a party for. But man, 2 years ago, it seemed just like it didn't matter what race it was, truck, something, we kind of got together to watch it. So 2 weeks ago, I started to clean out. of the garage.
Oh,
We had that 60-degree weather come in, got the cardboard all cleaned out, burned up, and getting all the cobwebs and the dust out of there. So it's only a matter of time there before we get some Friday night trucking in the garage.
Well, you want to know what, too? Me and Bree's in the market for a new couch, so I might have a couch for you to burn up there one day. So. Oh
yeah, bring it. Hey, when the time is right, gotta wait for it to get dark out. You know what I mean? Then you throw that on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Burning's legal up where Eric lives, so they can burn all sorts of stuff. That's mountain shit.
I can actually, from my house, because I sit up higher than where Eric's house is across the river. I'm about, the way the crow flies, I'm probably what, Eric, 1.5 miles, 2 miles?
I'd say, yeah.
In a straight line.
Yeah.
I'm high enough where if you guys can get a bonfire big enough, I might be able to see the bonfire from my bedroom.
Oh yeah, you saw a fire like in Exeter the one day, right? So,
yeah.
Oh yeah. We gotta send some smoke signals up. See if you can read them.
That's what I mean.
You guys want to jump into the NASCAR weekend? I didn't really do much, so I got nothing to report on. A little game night on Saturday and whatnot, a little dinner on Sunday. So, but yeah, you guys want to jump into the NASCAR news? Not a whole lot to cover. It's been real light news-wise in the last couple of weeks. But the first piece, Leigh Diffey, and this is kind of a shock, will end up calling a portion of NBC races in place of Rick Allen after the Olympic break on NBC. Eric, you're shaking your head. What do you guys think?
I don't know, man. That just, to me, that's one of those voices that is NASCAR. That's like, I don't know what they're doing with this. To me, it's the wrong move. It's the wrong decision. Nothing against Leigh or anything like that, but it's just, this is NASCAR. We have our voices in the sport. And to me, I'd much rather, Rick Allen in that booth.
Yeah, I'm with Eric. And again, like Eric said, it's nothing against Leigh Diffey. He's great at what he does. He brings a lot of excitement and energy. I just have such a passion for Rick Allen because the guy truly cares about the sport. And I'm not saying Leigh Diffey doesn't. I'm sure Leigh Diffey, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying Leigh Diffey doesn't. I'm sure he does. I'm positive he does, right? But just Rick Allen, for whatever reason, seems to be super polarizing. Like you either love him or hate him. Like what I see on Twitter, like I always thought just everyone loved him because like I love him that much.
I love him too.
He's got the classic voice. He's got the funny. He's got the witty. He's got the serious. He's got the excitement, and you could tell like NASCAR is a passion for him. And for him to not be in the booth anymore, we kind of batted around the idea, and you don't have to be the brightest bulb in the chandelier to kind of figure out that maybe this is a play for him to follow Junior over to Amazon and TNT next year. I don't know. We could be completely wrong, but I have a feeling that might have something to do with it. So I don't know. It's a bummer.
Yeah, I would be interested to see how many races it is because I was just thinking about last season. Rick Allen did miss a couple races where Junior was doing play-by-play instead. So I'm wondering if like maybe Rick Allen has some other things going on certain dates that are already like pre-scheduled. And since Junior isn't returning, maybe they're like, oh, well, we'll get Leigh Diffey, But again, that's the only explanation I could come up with if it's like 2 or 3 races. Now, if it's an extended period, like 6 races, a huge chunk of the playoffs, then I'm going to start wondering like, oh, maybe he is on the outs and he is following Junior. I don't know. It's interesting,
Did I hear you say about he's going down to Xfinity? Did one of us say that? Like he was going to get like,
oh, he is. NBC said that I guess Adam Stern reached out for more comment, and they said like, oh yeah, Rick Allen's going to be doing the NBC telecast, just not the Cup telecast after the Olympics. Wait, I think it's for the rest of the season.
No, you want to know what? I forgot that was mentioned too, where he's going to be doing all of the Xfinity races anyway. So there goes my theory out the door.
Right, so it's like it's not an NBC thing. He doesn't have a beef with NBC because he's obviously still working for them doing Xfinity. So it's like, I don't know, maybe Maybe I know Xfinity and Cup and Truck, the schedules are different by a little bit, where some weekends it's not, a full 3 series there at a time. So maybe the Xfinity schedule works out better for Rick Allen. I don't know. That just seems weird that, they would just demote him from doing Cup series to only Xfinity.
Or it could just be, we could be overreading this, overanalyzing it, where like, he was doing both the Xfinity series and the Cup series. Maybe he was just too much for him.
He just wants a break. Yeah, it could be. Could be.
Dude, think about it. You're calling a 3-hour race on Saturday, a 3-hour race on Sunday. That's a lot of broadcast time.
Or popped into my head just now. We love Rick Allen, right? And I'm sure a lot of other people do as well. And maybe they're trying something new where, hey, if he's calling the races for Xfinity, maybe it's a draw to help the Xfinity ratings boost, because Rick Allen's going to be in the booth and he's going to call a better race. Maybe he'll bring a little more excitement to that individual series and lead, since the Cup is going to be the Cup. Cup's going to do Cup numbers no matter what. Maybe they're trying to drive attention bring Rick Allen fans and say, oh, you know what? He called the race is better because of Rick Allen calling it. We know that matters in a race, who calls it and how they call it. And I don't know.
Isn't Xfinity going to the CW next year?
I believe
it. Start of the new TV deal.
Yeah, I think it does start next year.
Maybe Rick Allen's just going to the CW.
Well, I know. So the Xfinity series broadcasts are going to be like produced by NASCAR, like in-house. Right. So it's possible. I don't know. You want to what? Let's pump the brakes a little bit, and we'll just we'll wait and see once the Olympic break is over. Yeah, we're throwing a lot of stuff out there. I'm like, I don't know, man. Now we're just getting crazy. Let's pump the brakes, and then my next piece of news, it's super small. Kamio Kobayashi will make his second start for 23XI at COTA. He ran the race at COTA last year too. He also said he believes, and this is something we could speculate on too, that Japan would embrace NASCAR if they returned like they did in the 90s. Of course, back in the 90s, they had a couple exhibition races once a year in Japan. What do you guys think about NASCAR maybe going to Japan? I think that'd be awesome, personally.
I think this is a way to get Honda back into the sport. I think you get them over there.
Wow,
I think, with that, you kind of mix it up and mix it in play. I heard you guys talking about Honda, last week and coming into the sport. And to me, it's a no-brainer. Just because they are in every other form of motorsport in the world. Honda is such a reputable, they're in motorcycle racing, they're in, everything, every other like form of racing, Honda, and they're a legit company that I think would benefit from getting a Cup team. And if they're promoting it and saying, hey, I think NASCAR, the buzz is, we've talked about it the last couple of years. I think the buzz is real, and I think these manufacturers could feel that, and they know, and it's just the timing to get in. But I think we'll see a Honda possibly get in for sure, especially with talks like that, where bring it over here, bring it there. Like let's see that you get the ball rolling here.
And we've already heard NASCAR saying like they would like to expand internationally and stuff. We're going to Mexico next year for certain. And then I think Canada, Japan. I mean, we've already done it. The logistics, they're there. We'll figure it out. So I would like it.
If they want to expand internationally, then they should try to go to New Jersey.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's no good short track racing in New Jersey.
None.
Isn't that where Martin Truex is?
If you're not from Pennsylvania, you probably don't get that or understand why I just shit on New Jersey. It's just a Pennsylvania thing.
I'm from Pennsylvania. I don't get why you brought up New Jersey. That was a little random. I mean, Jersey's not another country.
That place is foreign. New Jersey's a foreign place. That's why.
I don't know. I always loved New Jersey growing up. So just spending summers down at the Jersey Shore. Go to a little Ocean City, Wildwood, hell, Atlantic City for a day trip. Take the bus down to Atlantic City.
I don't think he heard you.
I heard him.
Nah, you just go. You want to know Jersey? Go watch. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when they go down to the shore. Just watch that episode, and that's all you need to know.
Anyway,
don't go under the boardwalk.
I never saw that episode. I don't think I want to know. Anyways, that's all I have for NASCAR news. You guys want to jump into the race weekend? Christian Eckes was the big winner down in the Truck Series, but the story after this the race seemed to be about Stuart Friesen and Nick Sanchez. He's gripping him up. I didn't get to see the race, but Matt, I know you watched the race. You were all pumped about truck racing and whatnot. What'd you see in that whole situation? What'd you think about the race in general?
It was fantastic. It was one of the better Truck Series races I've seen in a long time. And again, I mean, if you're not getting up for Saturday night truck race, then I don't know what the hell you're doing, because that's where it's out, man. That's where America is built on, is the Truck Series race on a Saturday night in prime time, man. I'll tell you, I'm gonna go crush a beer right now talking about the truck race. Christian Eckes hung in there with the greatest of all time, Kyle Busch, and he outran him. And we had passing, and we had beating and banging, and we had trucking, and they trucked each other up. What else can I say?
Yeah, I didn't get to follow it all because again, Saturday night was game night here, but I did catch the end right there. I tell you what, man, Kyle Busch not in a KBM truck. He's been struggling the last couple of weeks because he raced in Las Vegas, came in second.
He swept the stages though.
Yeah,
he's just he's out there trucking, man.
Yeah, he's just trucking it up.
I'm gonna take. We're expanding the Bump and Run podcast, by the way, boys. I am gonna do a midweek truck show.
Yeah,
that's just all about the truck. There's not a podcast out there about the Truck Series, and God damn it, it's about time there is.
I'm trying to think it like Bump and Run Thursday trucking with Matt. Trying to figure out that tagline. Where,
I've got goosebumps with you just saying it.
I like it. Well, you could do a Truck Series preview show. Go tell all the storylines going into the Truck Series.
I'm gonna videotape me getting the truck tattooed on my chest.
Which one you going with? The Chevy, the Ford F-150, or the
just
Toyota?
The outline? Just the outline of a truck, of a NASCAR Truck Series truck.
You know what you need? You need just the Craftsman Truck Series logo. Just Craftsman Truck Series. Old school.
But you got to misspell Craftsman just by a letter.
It has to be misspelled. It has to be misspelled.
I think this is the earliest this has ever happened, but that train's going off the rails already on a Monday night.
The truck's
excited. I'm back. This is exactly how I want these shows to go sometimes, though. You know what I mean?
Just off the rails. But, yeah, I don't know. I got nothing else to add to the Truck Series. Eric, did you watch Truck Series race or no?
No, I was still shooting darts.
Yeah.
I was a little even if I wanted to, I think my BAC at that point in time wouldn't have even allowed me to watch that race. But I'm actually jealous hearing the way Matt talk about it, because I do love myself some trucking.
Eric, the only way to watch a Truck Series is with that BAC all the way up, buddy.
You know what? I feel like my BAC isn't high enough for this podcast right now. I need a beer. Let's jump in the Cup weekend. We saw a barn burner. Denny Hamlin led 13 times for 163 laps. Lasted 3 hours, 20 minutes, 44 seconds. We saw 9 cautions for 98 laps. 54 lead changes among 16 different drivers. Just absolutely insane. And I think we'll start with Eric. Eric, what did you think about that race? What's your race grade?
I gave this, if I could give this the highest possible grade that I can ever, it's getting that. I think this was, man, it's something we needed. It's something that, it makes me feel good about where the sport is going into the future with the way this car, we talked about it, wasn't handling well with the road courses or the short tracks, but first time back there with no dirt, we had no idea what to expect. Are we going to get what we had in the fall, or, are we going to get something completely different? And oh boy, did we get something completely different. In the beginning, I think we've all kind of agreed that there was a little bit of worry in the beginning there. We're like, this is about to go completely haywire here, but it didn't. And since it didn't, you allow the best of the best that are sitting on top of those pit boxes to do their job. these crew chiefs, they had to get in that notebook. They had to figure out, they had to drop their lap time, figure out what the best possible way is to conserve the tires. So you have the crew chiefs involved, which then that makes the strategy get involved, varying amongst everybody when you want to pit, whose setup is going to allow you to run faster. And most of all, it put the race in the driver's hands. You saw the drivers that had experience. You saw the ones that knew how to manage their tires, and you saw the ones that kind of didn't. And, you know, all of that wrapped up together. And I normally hate lap traffic, but oh my God, the battle at the end of that race with the lap traffic, it made it. Normally I'm yelling, get out of the way, like just move over for the leader. These guys, they physically could not move out of the way of the leaders.
There's no room.
Their cars were so bad. They couldn't even move out of the way.
They couldn't maneuver themselves out of the way.
At one point, there was 5 cars right next to each other running 10, 15 mile an hour differences into the turns where the drivers, that's another skill, lap traffic. So you literally had everything you need to do to be a Cup Series driver in play in one race. And you got a great finish at the end, back and forth battle where they swapped the lead under 10 to go a couple times because of that lap traffic. And even through all of that, there was still a possibility that both their cars just turned off with 2 to go, and they fell back. And then Keselowski, whose shirt I'm wearing here, I was cheering him on because that's a typical Keselowski way to win a race. But, man, that was just it was everything that I wanted. I know people are like, oh, only 5 cars finished on the lead lap. I didn't care. I didn't even, at the moment, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like all of that stuff that people could nitpick, and it doesn't matter. If you're involved in the race and you're watching what is going on, that stuff, how are you even thinking of that? That's stuff that people think that they just want to shit on after the fact. But in the moment, in my seat, until he crossed the finish line, I did not know who was going to win that race, and I think that's the first time that ever happened that I was watching like NASCAR. You did not know who was going to win.
For the entire race, too. It was one of those races you couldn't take your eyes off of. Because, dude, I went to the bathroom, just a quick little pee early on. I came back and my driver was sideways getting T-boned by the 71. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? It was absolutely insane. After I just texted too, I go, oh, staying out. I like this. Gamble a little bit. Fucking stupid. But
right around.
I forget who it was in those closing laps too. It might have been Ty Gibbs after the green flag stops, or someone was like cutting their way through, and they were too wide, and he bumped the guy on the outside lane and then shot the gap in between them. I'm like, this is insanity. Like, this is just insane racing. Like the lap traffic made it. It was awesome. How about you, Matt? I'm assuming same.
It was awesome. We had Christian Eckes outperform Kyle Busch. We had the veteran Matt Crafton finish in the top 5. It was fantastic. Oh, there was another race this weekend.
It's been a while since Matt Crafton finished in the top 5 too. He's been struggling the last season or two also. I feel like that's
that 88 Menards truck is just not what it used to be about 10 years ago.
And you want to know? I think that's why he's so like up in arms with all these young guys getting in their faces and stuff, because he's aging out. He's realizing like he can't hang the way he used to. So he was in the back of the pack all last season, beating up on Haley Deegan and shit. Finally, he's catching a little momentum in the beginning of this season. So we'll see what happens with Matt Crafton in the Truck Series.
The Cup race got an A+ from me, boys. That was unbelievable. It was awesome. So, like, we love chaos. We've talked about that because chaos is entertainment. We had chaos, and then we had a good race after that. Like, it was like, what's going to happen here? You know, exactly what you guys just said. I looked at my wife with about 100 to go, and I said, Steph, I have no idea who's going to win this race. I couldn't even narrow it down to, usually with the 100 laps to go at any given race that's not a super speedway, you could narrow it down to probably one of these 5 drivers is going to win this race. No idea, because anything could have happened. Like Eric said, car could have turned off at the wrong moment, and that's it. You know, it was awesome. We had controversies. We had passing. Whenever a race has 54 passes for the lead, that alone is getting an A+ for me pretty much every time.
Yeah.
And then you add everything else into it, the strategies, and it was phenomenal. I mean, what else do you want from a race? You know, I was skeptical early on, and for a moment there, it was kind of dragging on for me because it's like, Jesus, like what is going on here? But then once I got re-engaged into the race and like readjusted, like, no, you're watching something special here. Just like pay attention and appreciate this. I loved it. I wish we could see this. I mean, I know we've got COTA this upcoming weekend, but we've got Richmond coming up. We've got Martinsville coming up. Like, if we can get half the race that we saw yesterday at those two tracks, those are going to be A+ races.
So I listened to an interview with Greg Stucker of Goodyear today on Sirius XM.
Oh, I missed that. I wanted to hear that so bad. He was on at 4:30. I forgot all about it.
I did too. I wanted to hear that too.
It was really interesting. So these tires are more of an in between of like an intermediate and a short track tire. For Richmond and Martinsville, they're bringing a different tire than this one. So,
oh shit! But this is going to be Dover though. I'm not the one year I'm not going to Dover, and it's probably going to be a freaking knockout race. It's going to be amazing.
So he was also talking how they weren't as like. So they were doing a lot of PR in the middle of that race. You know, people on social media were calling them out and stuff. But he said, like, they're just now they know that it could be done, that they could do a tire that could fall off and everything. They just have to figure out exactly how it happened, whether it was the temperature or the resin or it was just the compound itself. And they want to improve it just enough where they're not cording out tires. But they want to keep this. They do want to keep a softer tire. So that's exciting. I'm excited about that. It has me hopeful for the future. But
it's just bizarre that we didn't get this in the fall. You know what I mean?
Same tire.
But
it's insane.
So
it's the same tire. It's the same car. It's the same package.
But
the
also,
only difference is I know the resin and the PJ1 is the one difference. Well,
and the temperature too.
Like
temperature was about 20
degrees.
Yeah, it's like 20,
difference about 16 degrees.
Yeah. And then
did that have something to do with it? I'm sure it had something.
Oh, I would imagine.
I
like
would
16
too.
degrees is like, and when it comes to the sport, if you're a new fan of the sport, little differences mean big fucking things in our sport of NASCAR, because you have a half a pound of pressure in a tire is everything. So think about it like that. Like you might think, oh, what's the difference? 10 degrees here. No, that's people. The clouds coming over for a half an hour on turns 1 and 2 make a difference.
Yeah.
So obviously 16 degrees total for a day in ambient, it had to have affected it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Eric, little things as little as a cloud rolling over for 20 minutes and changing the temperature of the track by 2 degrees is a massive change. And then it changes back and you get a whole different race than what you had 45 minutes ago. So yeah, 16 degrees is a big, big difference. So I'm assuming again, like that had something to do with it, but it's odd. And then we can't guarantee you that when we go back to Bristol in the fall that we're going to see what we saw yesterday either. So it's just, all I do know is like those marbles, like some of those pictures from the track after the race, seeing the marbles up on the up near the wall. I've never seen shredded rubber like that. It was just
like piles of it.
Shredded substance up there. That's insane what happened yesterday. It's insane.
It was fun to see Kyle Busch, though, do a science experiment. Halfway through that stage 2, I think it was, he didn't run in the resin at all. He stayed up above the resin to see if it was the resin doing it. And whole
still
run,
the same result.
He was up, and the same thing. Nothing was going in. So it's like some of these crew chiefs and drivers mid-race were trying to do experiments onto why or what is going on. So,
dude, that's racing, man.
I know the resin is where they're going in the future. The PJ1 gets too oily and greasy, I guess. So, like the resin, they're definitely getting away from the PJ1 and sticking with the resin. But it's just weird that the track didn't rubber up, but it did when they would spin. So it's like I noticed that, like when the car would spin and like slide, it would leave rubber on the racetrack, but when they're just racing, wasn't laying rubber down on the racetrack. So I don't know. It was very, very weird. I also thought, I don't know if this has anything to do with it right now, but did you guys catch the crew chiefs for Denny and Larson say that they talked to each other during the race during at one point, and those two just raced side by side against each other on purpose to slow the fucking pace down from 16 fives to like 17 flats to let the whole field know, like, hey, this is kind of what we have to do right now. Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool too.
So I listened to Denny's podcast this morning. He talked about it where he said to his spotter, hey, go down to Larson's spotter and see if he's down with it. And they're like, yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah.
And that's when they kind of did that. So I thought that was interesting too. Kind of control the race as much as you can to your own benefit too. Cause they were kind of up there at the time. I think they were like running like 5th and 6th or something like that. But yeah, I wonder if it was just the temperature itself where it wouldn't melt into the concrete or something. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, just a fan watching at home going, holy shit, this is absolutely insane. And that's why I gave it an A+ as well.
Wait, you look like the scientist from Independence Day, though.
Yeah.
You want to get strangled by the alien? With that hair going.
Peace. No peace.
There it is.
Is that glass bulletproof? No, sir. If you've
never seen Independence Day, now you have.
I have. That's one of the best scenes in the whole movie. That whole movie is just fantastic.
I will say before, like I did give it an A++, best race ever. And to the people that didn't, I think they forgot that there was only 9 cautions during this race.
Yeah.
Now at Bristol, and we weren't having complete blowouts of these tires and cars smacking the wall and really having detrimental tire failures.
Yeah. It wasn't like the tire failed on them. They literally wore them out to the point where they failed.
And I think it helped being on a short track for sure. So even if one did blow, guess what? You could slow it down enough. It wasn't like you're at 1.5 miles, and if that goes going into the turn, you're not around other people. You can't even slow down. You're smacking that wall no matter what.
Yeah.
So to me, that was the deciding factor on if it was a problem or not. And it didn't cause, these crazy wrecks there wasn't major failures in my eyes. It was kind of like they said, it was on the.
It is. So did you guys ever watch Star Trek: The Next Generation back in the 90s? Do you just remember Star Trek?
No, I was watching Walker, Texas Ranger, and Dukes of Hazzard.
Well, look up Star Trek Data, because that's the same guy, and if you look him up, you wouldn't even recognize him. They look completely different. Anyways, it always blew my mind when I found out that guy was the same guy from Star Trek. That's why I bring it up. I'm sorry.
Off the rails.
Where were we again? One of those cautions wasn't even a real caution. Josh Berry literally just spun it around and then kept going. They could have kept it green. He only lost 15 positions. I don't know. I thought it was great. Let's see. Like Matt though, that first stage made me super nervous because I thought it was just going to turn into a real shit show. But I think once the drivers, like you said, that Denny, Larson, they were like, oh, we got to slow it down. The crew chiefs kind of figured it out. And then I thought it was super interesting. Harvick brought it up on the broadcast, and that's, we'll get to it too later on. But I think some of the backmarker teams that were a little bit less aggressive on camber and stuff, because if you look at some of the pictures of the tires, it's all one side of the tire is corded. So that's all the cambers leaning to that one side. And then I'm sure some of the back markers less aggressive, kind of more of an even wear, which I thought also made for really interesting racing. We saw a bunch of guys up front that we normally don't. And I don't know. I just thought it was one of the best short track races I've ever seen. It was an old school short track race. It was like I was watching NASCAR classics, and just watch them slip and slide around the corners and just trying to hold on for dear life for a lot of that. So
that's one of those races. Sorry, I'm
that's
sorry.
Okay. No, that's it. Just an A+.
That's one of those races that we'll talk about in the NASCAR community. We'll talk about 10 years from now.
Yeah.
People still bring up the Indy debacle from 2009. Where they had a tire issue too, where it was just a disaster. That was 15 years ago, and people are still talking about it. Here, we just had one of the best short track races of all time, certainly with the next gen car. And yeah, I mean, we always sometimes like in our race grades after an okay race, we'll say, you know, that was just a race that we'll forget about this time next year. Like, no, not with this race. This is a race we will refer back to. Like I refer back to that Talladega race in 2016 all the time.
Yeah.
This is now going to be the short track version of that, where we're always like, dude, remember that one Bristol race?
Just absolutely insane. Yeah, it really was. And like, that's why I was worried though. It was going to turn into one of those Indy debacles. But like at a certain point, you couldn't even compare the two, because that race, they had to throw a caution every 10 laps because the tires were just shredded. Like, I think near the end, I don't know what, Josh Berry was on like 70 some lap tires, you know. By the end, they figured out how to save them just enough to survive. And man, was that exciting. I don't know how you walk away from that race not saying it was like a 10 out of 10, right?
Right.
Let's see. Yeah, we're like 35 minutes. You want to take a break real quick and then we'll jump into the checkers and wreckers?
Yeah.
All right. Before we do the checkers and wreckers, back from the break, that if you're listening to the podcast in audio form, like this is too much information, but I brought it up in between. I had to leave during the middle of this race, right? I had to go to dinner. So I hit pause, let it record the end, literally put my phone on do not disturb, and it was so hard not to open anything until I saw the end of the race. And you know how when you walk away, you're like, maybe you just have to leave for a second. Like, oh, I got to run to this other room. And then you come back and you're like, something major happened. And then you're kind of out of the race. I didn't have that at all. As soon as we got home from dinner, put everything away. I'm like, all right, let's get back into this race. I was so excited. I hit play and I was back on the edge of my seat. Like I had not missed a beat. And I think that goes to say something, because it's real easy to get taken out of a race. If it could be an A race and just get taken out of it. And this race it was so edgy of your seat. You couldn't walk away to miss anything. And I just thought it was so good.
Yeah. I mean, that we were just kind of talking about it. You know, if you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know that I think all three of us for sure, because Eric, you weren't you at like a dam show or something that you had to record a race?
It was always the cutoff Daytona race that I would miss. Yeah,
that's right. So like all three of us have had to, like, because of whether it's a wedding or a concert or something, we've all had to record a race, disconnect from the outside world until we got to the race the next day. And we were just saying, it was a couple Bristols ago. If you're a diehard NASCAR fan, it was when Chase and Kevin Harvick got into it. I had a wedding that night.
Yeah. So
I shut the phone off completely until the next day when I got back home and was able to sit down and watch the entirety of the race. And I just, that little bit of a difference, knowing that it wasn't live, knowing that I couldn't, like, half the fun is like being able to like chat with you guys and like our other NASCAR buddies throughout a race. You know, that kind of bounces, ideas off each other. Hey, how's the race going for you? What are you seeing that I might not be seeing? Where when you watch a race the next day or delayed a couple hours, like Whitey's case last night, it could take away from the race a little bit. So I'm happy that it didn't affect it for you, Whitey, because it really could. It really could. Because I remember that race that I missed with Bristol. You guys loved it. And I was like, it was okay. And it's because of the way I consumed it. So, I mean, that goes into it too, for sure. More than any other sport too.
Absolutely. And especially like just staying off social media and everything, not spoiling it for yourself. It is so hard to do too, but Eric, you brought up too, Phoenix last week, because you consumed it a little bit differently, and that weighed, your view on it.
Yeah. I listened to the show and, I heard you two go back and forth about Phoenix, and, Matt, I agree with you 100%, right?
Fuck Phoenix, but
forever. But
if I was on the show last week, I think I would have had to agree with Whitey in this scenario because of the way that we just talked. I consumed it differently. I had my phone open with EJ's camera, with his scanner playing, main, race broadcast on the big screen, and it kept me more involved. Now, EJ was having a good day as well. So little things you don't realize could make or break a race for you. So me consuming it differently last week and being a little bit, I guess like you said, Wade, like you wanted to sit in your chair. You didn't want any distractions. I'm going to watch this race.
Yeah.
And, because you don't know, you have to change how you watch races to see if, that affects, the outcome the next day. So, yeah, I ended up giving Phoenix last week a B- because I didn't think it was that bad of a race. And I agree, though, Whitey, this is still on a Phoenix grading scale.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You
put that B- up against someone else, not a prayer. I agree with your take on Phoenix has its own scale.
You put Phoenix against this race, and Phoenix is get it off the schedule because it doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
You put Phoenix up against two turtles walking in a backyard, and I'm telling you to get it off the schedule.
Wow, you want to know what's...
I mean, that's why. And like I said last week, Eric, you and Whitey are definitely on the right side of history with that race last week. I know you are. It's the way you consume it. It's the mentality in which you consume it. How many times have we said, I was a little too hungover. I was a little too tired. Didn't really enjoy that race yesterday, but it was probably a fine race. Well, with Phoenix, I have my reasons why I hate Phoenix. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this show a million times. I hate Phoenix. I hate the racing it delivers. I hate everything about it. So it could be a knockout race at Phoenix, and I'm going to have a hard time seeing how good it was. And that's a me thing. That's a me thing. And I'm the first one to admit it, that I'm tainted.
We'll have the same issue in Richmond in a couple weeks. Guarantee it. But hopefully we'll consume it the way it needs to be consumed to really enjoy it. I think we can. But fellas, let's jump into the checkers and wreckers.
3 wide for the lead. 1 lap to go.
It's this week's checkers and wreckers.
All right.
God damn it, I love rocking out.
Yeah, rocking out, baby.
Oh, I missed that last week.
Little Wayne's run. Who do we start with for the race grades? Eric, let's start with Matt for the checkers and wreckers.
My checkers goes to the vets. Once this race became a tire management race.
Thank you for your service.
What's up?
Thank you for your service.
Oh, yes, thank you for your service, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, and Martin Truex.
Oh man, I don't have my kazoo here. Fuck.
Anyway.
Anyways.
The vets get my checkers because it was a tire management race. That's what NASCAR used to be. For anyone who's relatively new to NASCAR, I mean, they said it during the show, the race yesterday 100 times. That's what it was. And then even guys like Bowman, who's not necessarily a vet, still a young guy, that was the discipline in which he came up racing in. He even said in an interview, tire management races coming up is when I was my best. It's how I got to be where I am because of how good I was at tire management races. You saw that yesterday. Josh Berry, although he finished outside the top 10, he was able to come. He was a comer and a goer all day because of how good he is at that type of, like, the car tours, the local car tour series. Like that's all it is, because they don't get.
They have limited amount of tires.
10 sets of tires like you see in NASCAR. They get a limited amount of tires, and you have to save those bad boys, or guess what? Your race is over.
They might have 1 set of tires for the weekend or 2 sets of tires for the weekend. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying this isn't real racing. Like, this is the essence of racing.
This is racing.
This is racing.
What we saw yesterday, what we've seen for the past 5-10 years. It's still racing to a certain degree, but it's not racing at its core.
Yeah.
Yesterday, tire management, fuel management, that is racing. That's what makes our sport so goddamn beautiful, because there's a strategy involved to it. And we saw that yesterday. I loved it. But my checkers goes to the vets because, hey, they were able to do it better than anyone else. Ty Gibbs, God love the kid. Literally, he gets him. He was outstanding. He had the best car. If it wasn't a tire management race, Ty Gibbs probably wins by 5-10 seconds yesterday.
Yeah.
But he didn't seem to really know how to manage his tires as well as some of the old savvy guys. And then you saw what happened. He fell back and had troubles, and that was kind of that for him.
Yeah, I think he finished 12th place overall, or no, 9th. So it's still top 10.
Still top 10, yeah.
But yeah, he learned. He was pushing real hard, real early on those fresh tires every time he got them, and then you just see him fall back, and the vets take over. So yeah, I totally agree. How about your wreckers?
My wreckers goes to Goodyear, but not because of any obvious reason.
Yeah.
Because of, like Junior said in his tweet, they went into PR mode halfway through that race, and during that interview that I've never seen them interview a Goodyear PR rep in the middle of the race. Not that I can remember. I'm not saying it never happened, but I just never remember it happening, where they were like, hey, get me in an interview, put me on national television. We've got to plead our case. And in that interview, if you notice, they blamed the weather. They blamed the track. They blamed anything you can imagine. They blamed Obama. They blamed everyone but the tire themselves.
Yeah.
And then when it turned out to be an awesome race and they saw the great reception, you're not allowed to go ahead and then go ahead and claim, a victory on Goodyear if you weren't willing to take the blame in the middle of the race when you thought it was a debacle. So that's where my wreckers comes in.
I agree with that. Like own up to it. I could see from Goodyear where it's like, man, what the fuck is going on? We brought the same tire here, less than 6 months ago. We had no issues. So like, yeah, big time panic mode. But yeah, I totally agree though. You can't go into damage control and then once everyone says they love it, be like, yeah, we totally planned it like this. No, for real, we did. Like, it doesn't work like that. So
Nope.
I agree with you on that one. How about you, Eric? What's your checkers and records for the weekend?
My checkers goes to Justin Haley in that 51 car and Kaz Grala in the 15 car. Rick Ware Racing. Now, if you're a listener of this podcast, the last couple of seasons, this might be the most out of the pocket, out of the blue checkers so far in this history of the podcast, because we would shit on Rick Ware. At a certain point, we didn't even want to bring them up.
Like,
and
we
we had
didn't
to
even
force
mention
ourselves to stop mentioning Rick Ware because every time we did, it was negative.
Yeah. Like Cody Ware, just keeping Ware out of the mouths.
Yeah,
I'm shedding light to this new team who has a new affiliation and a new alliance and just kind of a new outlook on the sport. And we all thought he was crazy
Insane.
When he announced going to Rick Ware Racing. Everyone's like, what is Justin Haley doing? I mean, at the time, Colleague, we thought they were going to be something. It didn't turn out to be so Trackhouse-esque, but still good, solid team upcoming. And to leave that to go to Rick Ware Racing.
Do you remember the day that news broke? We were in the infield at Pocono. It was Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us were just like, what the fuck is this? Like, Rick Ware Racing? Really? I think Matt called us where he's like, what the fuck did you just see the news? What the fuck are they thinking? And here we are. Here we are. 6 months later, not even going.
I was wrong.
And it wasn't even a fluke. It's not like, okay, couple races, Justin was running well in Atlanta. Okay, has some good runs here. So does Kaz at some of these super speedways. So it's like, let's pump the brakes. I was going to mention them, but I'm like, let's get into the schedule a little bit. Let's get out of the, super speedway realm. And I'll tell you what, I don't think Justin Haley in that 51 is a fluke. Now, Kaz had a good race too, but I think the 51 and Haley is going to, obviously be the number one car there.
Oh, yeah.
But, man, all day he ran up front. And, he's not a wily vet in the sport by any means as far as, Keselowski and Hamlin and Truex and those guys. And he, in that 51 car, they put on a show. They put everybody on notice. And even I was happy to see Harvick. He mentioned it too, the booth. And I know a few weeks ago, it might have been the second week, we were talking about the booth, and I kind of said Harvick, he didn't do great. I wasn't in love with it. I kind of criticized him a little bit, but I said, give him time.
Yeah.
He's every week. Harvick is getting better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Every week in that booth, he's getting better. The information, the knowledge, just being fresh out of this next-gen car too, it is just it's getting better each week, and I have to give Fox in that booth credit because if not for them, they kept me in too by informing me, getting their information from down at the teams and the crew chief. What is going on? Bringing Larry Mack in to explain some things. And, it to me, I have to give them credit when credit is due that they were a part of this A+ grade I gave them as well. They added the element of keeping me there, informing me enough to stay in that race. So I got to give them credit.
I think Harvick deserves a lot of credit for reining in Boyer too.
I was just about to say that, Matt, too.
Boyer's gotten better this year. I think he's a little more tame. He's taking it a little bit more seriously. He's still got his joking side, just like the rest of us do.
He's still calling it a hot rod, but in moderation. I think you're right. I think Harvick has helped rein him in.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I was going to jump in with that same point, so I'm glad you did because. Like you said, Eric, I think, man, we shit on Fox a lot in this show, and there's no shitting on them this season. So far, they've been they've done
a couple hiccups, but they've gotten better. They've gotten better.
I mean, I don't watch the pre-race shows. Do you guys watch the pre-race at all this season?
It depends. Or no? It depends. Usually, I'm trying to get a little bit of a shut-eye in, or I'm out doing something around the house while the baby, because that's like right around the sweet spot of when my kid's taking his nap. So we try to get stuff done around the house.
Yeah.
So usually it's like, oh, look, it's 3:35. I gotta get the TV on now.
Yeah. Usually I'm at the grocery store, so I don't see any of that shit.
Yeah, I'm more of I'd rather more post-race. I like the post-race shit rather than the pre-race stuff. The pre-race stuff, we kind of already consume that and ourselves and are so in-depth that we don't really need a lot of the pre-race stuff to know what's about to happen. Right. I'm more for the takes of what happened after the race. So I'd rather them have an extended post-race rather than pre-race.
I only ask because I just wonder if they got rid of some of those like corny skit type stuff, So if you're listening or watching home, let me know. Has Fox kind of dropped the whole comedy shtick, or is it still going?
I know that they added, it was my checkers a couple weeks ago. I know they added a segment with Boyer that he goes out and kind of hangs out with the fans for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it a couple times, albeit I haven't seen every pre-race. So I'm assuming it is a weekly thing. And it's been phenomenal. And it highlights folks like us three that are just normal race fans that go out and have a good old time. And if there's a way where Boyer can find us at Pocono, oh boy.
Yeah. You want to know what? We gotta start tweeting the shit out of him. Starting like Thursday night, like, Boyer, come have a beer with us, sending pictures and whatnot. Eric, you did the Wreckers?
No, I did not. My Wreckers, it kind of goes into what we were just talking about with the booth and all of that. I wrecked myself for not being there after the last 2-3 seasons of going. Man, like, I know it's something you can't predict. I know the weather was played. It was 32 degrees and cold and rainy the whole weekend besides Sunday. Last year, and it was later date. So this is earlier date. I'm like, I'm not taking that risk. The weather's going to be terrible. This car isn't good on short tracks. So I didn't renew my ticket for the spring race.
Yeah.
And man, did I pay for it, because that was an all-timer. We might not ever see this ever again. Yeah, and knowing that I've gone there, the last couple seasons, and then I missed this, it was hard for me because my girlfriend the entire race, and I didn't respond to her one time. Not one time did I say anything back.
Yeah.
She just kept going, "You mean to tell me we're missing one of the greatest races ever?" And I can't tell you how many times she said that during the race.
Yeah.
Probably 25, 30 fucking times. You mean to tell me we're missing the greatest? And she was just giving it to every time, like, and I wanted to say, I'm like, can't. Nope, it is what it is, Eric. You couldn't predict this. There's no way you could have known.
No way. No way you could have known.
Especially since before the dirt. Do you remember how bad those spring races were?
Right.
There were some snoozers. For Bristol?
So, but to tie it into the booth thing, in a way, I'm glad I wasn't there, because it was easier to consume and follow along from the TV broadcast, I think.
Could you imagine not having a scanner at that race yesterday, having no idea what
you would have been so lost.
Yeah.
You would have been on Twitter trying to see what's going on rather than keeping your eyes on the actual race. So, I mean, I listen to it. I have headphones in the scanner. So, like, when I'm there, I would have that anyway. But I'm just saying, for a normal fan, I think they're awesome racing. But if you're like us and you like to know the details of what's this and what's going on, and you're not just there consuming it, that's why I brought up the broadcast, because I think being there, it was probably a little less confusing. And maybe that, like, we were talking about the poll and like bringing that up, like, oh, who are the 12% and why, did they vote no? Yeah. And, we brought up the fact that maybe it's the way you were consumed. You could be hungover, or maybe you were at the race and it was a little too confusing and you didn't know what was going on. So we're just trying to figure out why that 12% would go no. But yeah, man, I wrecked myself for not being there and witnessing an all-timer.
I saw some people online complaining, the 100% rule. Where it's like, oh, you have if you're not giving 100%, basically so you stop people from
people just trying to complain about something.
That's not what yesterday was, because that's part of them not going 100% was them going 100%. If that makes any difference, because you have to peel it back in order to go 100%. That's not what that 100% rule. People are stupid, man.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even want but I kept seeing that. I'm like, really? This is your take on what's going on here? Not like, oh, it's the driver battling the tire and trying to manage his car. Like, no, it's like, oh, he's not full throttle. He's not full throttle the whole way, so he's not trying. Like, no, he's trying way harder than just going full throttle.
It's harder to not go full throttle than to go full throttle.
Yeah.
Well, it's like what Matt said. Like, I think these fans are a little bit newer because that like you don't hear anymore. And like I remember like Kenseth, like he was good at managing his tires and managing his fuel. And that used to mean a lot back then. And like, to me, you don't ever hear taking care of your equipment anymore, taking care of your equipment. And equipment used to be a lot more than just your bumpers or your tires. No, it was your brakes. Yeah. It was a lot more went into it. And you don't hear them talking about that because you don't have to protect your equipment. You mash the gas and you just go around. That's what it's been the last 10 years. And you took protecting your equipment out of it. Like, I remember when Kyle Busch, and Kenseth, when they were teammates, like Kyle Busch said he learned from Matt on how to not destroy his car in the first half of the race. Like, learn to manage your car, learn to not blow the tires off of your car. Like, basically what Ty Gibbs did was like, that was the biggest learning experience for him.
Yeah.
In the entire, like, all the guys coming up, like Alex Bowman said, that's what they had to learn in order to stay and keep their rides back in the day. You had to know how to do that. So it got lost in the last 10 years,
drive a fast
and now
car.
it's back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. For all those guys growing up on short tracks, grinding it out, this is what they had to do. Ty Gibbs, he just got in the car and drove as fast as he could because he could afford to. Like I don't want to bring up like all the silver spoon or anything because like, you want to know what that's so I'm sorry. I was thinking about this at work when I was literally walking into to the other building, and I was thinking like Kyle Busch versus Ty Gibbs right now, and like just the performance. Do you think Gibbs is like, yeah, we made the right decision? This is off the rails, but do you think they're like, yeah, we made the right decision getting rid of KB? Like KB's a champion and everything, but he's aging, and like Gibbs is like, he's so close to breaking out and having a breakout season here.
I was thinking about this too, Whitey, not in that essence, but when we were going back and forth with like when you were busting me about wanting to take Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
And we said, because you're like, oh, this isn't Gibbs Busch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is RCR Busch.
I do believe this. I believe if you put Kyle Busch in an 18 car on Sunday, he would have been right up there with the rest of those four guys.
Absolutely. He would probably win. He would probably win.
I think if Harvick didn't retire, if he was out there, he would have been up there as well.
So, like, I don't think it's like maybe the right decision. I just think right now the Gibbs camp and the Toyotas are better than the Chevys are. And it's just like when it was the opposite, when the Toyotas were struggling really bad and Kyle Busch had those really kind of off 2 years where we're like, is he falling off? It wasn't Kyle Busch falling off. That was the Toyotas.
Toyota in general is having a real
Then they changed their
time.
body. They got their shit together. And then now Ty is reaping the benefits from the change and Toyota making that step forward. And, it just so happens Kyle Busch got into a Chevy and now they regressed.
Yeah.
So I think you put Kyle Busch in a car there with the Gibbs camp, he very well could have won that easily.
I agree with that. It was just something that popped in my mind when I was at work. I didn't put it on the outline, and then it popped in my mind again where I was like, oh, the comparison. Because, like, people shit on Ty Gibbs just because of his last name, but, like, you don't go into the Cup Series without talent and perform the way he's performing just because of the car. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It was just a thought.
Off the rails here, too. How much do you blame Ty Gibbs' spotter for his failure on Sunday, for not letting him know that his lap times are too heavy?
Yeah.
He should have been telling Ty, back it down. How didn't Denny's team and Gibbs in general say, hey, this is a young kid. If I'm Gibbs there at the racetrack, I'm telling my spotter, follow Denny, learn from Denny. This is what he's doing. These are the vets.
Yeah.
Stop going out and running out in front of them.
Stay
I
with
think
them.
the
Keep
spotter
pace
has
with
something
them.
to do with that.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I would agree where it's like, hey, just lay back and follow and watch, learn.
Yeah.
And then essentially just make your moves when time it's all about timing your moves,
Mm-hmm.
Ty Gibbs doesn't have a spotter. He only has one voice from up above that talks to him.
That's it. Let's see. My checkers and wreckers for the weekend. I have to give my checkers to Alex Bowman, the highest finishing Chevy and the highest finishing non-veteran driver, like we were just talking about. He was the last driver to pit on that green flag cycle, so he was able to manage them just a little bit longer, which I thought was impressive in and of itself. And then everyone else, he was able to manage his tires just a little bit longer than everyone else. Just had a really good day, I thought, for Bowman, especially since, last couple weeks, last couple months, Bowman's been struggling. He's kind of like the lowest man on the Hendrick totem pole right now. And he went out and beat all of his teammates. It's
almost as if he knows his days are numbered at HMS.
Ooh, you never know. We'll see what happens in the future. I think next year is a contract year. And then my wreckers goes to his teammate, Kyle Larson, not for the way he drove, but for some of his comments, like wanting to red flag the race and put PJ1 down on the concrete there. I thought it was kind of lame, to be honest with you. The fans were enjoying the race. The drivers seemed to have been having fun in the race. And Kyle Larson just had nothing but negativity to say. And I'm wondering if it's just because he didn't know how to manage his tires,
Who managed to finish the race on their tires? You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
I didn't see Alex Bowman using up his tires. I didn't hear Alex Bowman complaining. That's your teammate, brother. So I don't know. That was honestly the only thing I could think of negative about this race. So that's what I got. Fellas, any other drivers sticking out? We didn't really talk about Martin Truex Jr. Having his best finish at Bristol of all time. And then I thought he had a chance to win too. What did you guys think about MTJ, who's, I forget, I think this is the first top 10 he's gotten in a while.
17 races.
Yeah, so
the last 17 races is his first top 5. So from his heroic season start last year to the epic downfall, Truex needed that day, maybe even more than anyone in the field at that point in time.
Yeah, probably.
So in the NHL, when you in the regular season, when you win the Eastern Conference, when you're the best team to win the Eastern Conference, you win the President's Trophy.
Yeah.
And like the last, I don't know how many, I forget what the stat is, how many President's Trophy winners do not win the Stanley Cup. So you go from being the best team in the regular season to not winning the actual championship that matters. How many times have we seen now the regular season, since they implemented a regular season champion, go on to not win the championship? I think it's every year, right? Has the regular season champion ever won the championship?
I think every year except for Kyle Larson in 2021.
Larson win. Okay. So 1 year, but every other year, like I know Chase was the regular season champion. He didn't win that year. MTJ last year. The one year it was either Denny or Harvick. Remember that year that both of them ran away with the wins?
Think Denny got the regular season championship that year, yeah.
Something to think about.
That is. I'll have to do a little research off air because I'm interested in that now too. I'll have to look it up. Or yeah, because when did they implement the regular season champion? Was that
I was a regular season champion with the picks last year, and Eric ended up winning the championship.
Yeah. Oh, and when we get to the picks, man, fucking Eric making up some ground.
Yeah.
Fuck, man, I did not do well picking William Byron. That's my alternative records.
Was over early for him too.
Yeah, and then my pick to win wrecked out real early. My driver wrecked out real early. I had all of the makings to be miserable during this race, and it was still an A+. So I want to know what the hell happened to those 12% that voted no on Gluck's poll too.
Dude, how about the save by the leaders? When Ty had to go down around off of the banking, and Denny split him in the middle,
and then
that
Bell was
insane.
right behind him too. Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah, it was Bell, Gibbs, and Hamlin. They had it all. That was one of the wildest avoidances I've ever seen. Then the leaders too. It was the leaders. I'm like, oh my god, what the hell's going on?
Mm-hmm. Dude, so many man, Matt, a little gassy up there.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just super exciting racing all day long. We mentioned Brad Keselowski. He was third. We mentioned Ty Gibbs with the 9th place. Did we mention Josh Berry? 12th place finish,
JB4, buddy.
He was.
I was just gonna start talking about him.
Nice.
Unbelievable. I mean, I mentioned him a little bit earlier, right? He had he was up there. He led laps. Then he lost. He lost. I think he was down a lap at one point, and then he ended up coming back, and then he ended up finishing in 12th. He was up and down all race, and he ended up, he was saying like how much he loved it too, obviously. And yeah, man, just really good to see that Ford team run well. Good to see him run well. Obviously he's got all the talent in the world, and I think the SHR equipment's getting better a little bit. I think 3 out of the 4 of them finished in the teens. So, I mean, they had a good showing yesterday. So we'll see. I mean, it might be a little too early yet, but let's see where they are come usually Memorial Day, the 600 is usually when we'll be able to get a real good feel of, who's having a good season, who's readjusted from the season before. So we have about another 2 months until we really have solid concrete evidence, but I like where SHR is going right now.
I like where they're going too. And I feel like he was just off sequence just too much, where he had to get too much off his tires at the end there. I feel like if he was pitting during that green flag stop when everyone else was, I think he was one of the first ones to pit. I feel like his finishing position would be way better, at least the top 5. And yeah, just super impressive to watch him run that race. Kind of impressed by most of the Fords except for Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. They had a rough day, and I meant to bring this up when we were just talking about Justin Haley and Rick Ware racing. Joey Logano's only 4 points ahead of Justin Haley in a Rick Ware car at 72 and 76 points. I think Logano's 22nd right now in points, and then Haley's 29th or 28th. But I don't know what the hell's going on. Blaney was just having a rough one. He was all sorts of pissed off during that race. I don't think he was having a fun one like a lot of the other guys out there.
Chastain too.
Oh, big time got Chastain. I was waiting to look for a clip to see if I didn't see anything. Did you guys? I'm like, he had to have said something, because they were beeping from a couple weeks ago where he's like, oh, get into him and stuff. And Chastain drove right through him.
Well, the championship race. Remember Chastain was holding him up last year?
Oh, yeah.
I saw the first article on the NASCAR website this morning was Ryan Blaney saying to the media, stop asking me questions about Ross Chastain. I'm sick of talking about him. So I think he's just flat out had it, It kind of made me laugh too, and when I checked it out, I'm like, "Oh man, they're just arguing over."
Dude, let's be honest too. I love Ryan Blaney. Ross Chastain would fucking squeeze that guy's head off.
Yeah,
in a fight.
Well, you want to? I don't think I've ever really seen them standing next to each other. I know, although you want to wait, he rocked Noah last year.
Ross Chastain's got that farmer strength, dude.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. He would probably kill Blaney. And that's all I have for the notes from the race. Anything else that stood out to you guys? Anyone else's performance that?
I mean, Homer. I'll be a homer here, but John Hunter Nemechek.
Yeah, top 5, right? Or top
and P6.
P6, okay.
But EJ should have finished right behind him in P7 because that's where he was in that last segment. They went in together and they went out together. And then in the last stop, EJ stayed out and John Hunter pitted and his team didn't go again with the same strategy.
Yeah.
And if he did, he would have got a top 10. But just like you said with Barry, he was out of sequence and he tried staying out for another caution, I think, because he was in like 4th or 5th. And like, I'm like, dude, you got to pit John Hunter. Like, you got to pit. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I get it. You're waiting for a caution right now, but he was off sequence from his pit. Like EJ, he got that penalty from his crew and like that put him about. And like, I don't want to get into it because they say it all the time, but because they're new and their new whole crew coming in, Legacy's supporting it. And I know there's going to be some hiccups, but goddamn, he races up into the top 10 every time. After a pit cycle, he's back in 18th.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's been the story forever now.
The story of it. And then he drives back up to 11th, 12th is kind of where he stayed towards that third stage in there, hanging around the top 15. And then I see he finishes 20th at the end when he was right behind John Hunter. And I'm like, how does John Hunter finish? And I look, he waited a pit. He didn't pit with him. Like,
yeah.
Dude,
that was the name of the game with the race, though. That's why it was exciting. Everybody had a different lap number that they had to go in. And EJ had to race harder to get those spots because he got put in the back. So, like, there's so many variables, which I don't know. I loved it. That's what made it exciting. The different variables in that race, but good for Legacy there. I see the little hopes. I think Toyota, I said in the beginning that is the step that they needed to take.
Can I tell you, during that whole ordeal, I was just praying for a caution while Alex Bowman was the only one on the lead lap and pin everyone a lap down. I thought that would have been absolutely insane to happen in the race. I think a lot of guys were waiting for another caution that just never came.
Never came.
So
surprising with everything that happened. It just, I think everyone assumed it was going to come or somebody was going to, spin out. But by that time, the crew chiefs has figured out this is your lap time that you need to hit for these tires not to wear. And I think they all kind of just dialed it back and they found that lap time that they needed so it wasn't going to cause any issues when it's gamble. Some of those races are gambling.
Oh, yeah. Matt, you looked like you were about to say something a second ago and I cut you off. Sorry.
Just to tie a bow on the EJ topic was like he's so good at passing, and then he has those pit stop woes all the time. Where that's why you always see him towards the top of the charts on the loop data of passes, green flag passes, because he gets out there, he passes a billion cars, then he gets.
I'm glad you brought that up because
again.
Every time they bring that up, it's always like, biggest movers plus 16. It's like, I know. It's like, come on, give me a couple weeks in a row where that's not the case. Like his starting position versus like finishing positions is like, it's always crazy because it's like he gets put back in the field and has to drive back up all the time. Yeah. And so I said, I'm tired of talking about it because it just happens all the time.
It's like a riddle. It's like, how is he always the one who's like passing the most green flag passes and then he's finishing 16th? It's like, how is that possible?
Because he starts in 25th, moves up 15 spots, and then a late race caution comes out and he gets put back into 25th, and he only has enough time to make up another 8 spots or so, and he finishes 16th. It's like clockwork. Man, what an ordeal. Let's see. God, I don't know, man. Fucking off the rails. My ADD is bad tonight. Let's see. Here on the
2 plus 4.
6. Here on the Bumper.
All right, so your ADD is okay.
Here on the Bumper Run podcast, we like to talk about everyone on a Monday loves to talk about the winner, one James Dennis Hamlin. But here on the Bumper Run podcast, we like to talk about the guy that came in last. And it was one Zane Smith. He was involved in that Tyler Reddick wreck early on, but he was able to keep going until his engine blew up. I saw a great tweet too, where an F1 fan was watching NASCAR for the first time, and his friend, he turned to his friend who was introducing him to NASCAR. He goes, "Wait, so they just throw duct tape on and put him back out on the track?" And he goes, "Yeah, you just keep going until you can't go no more." I really appreciate that. So I hate that Zane Smith T-boned my driver, because I feel like we would have went multiple laps down anyways, but I feel like it might not been as bad. But unfortunate for him, his engine expired. And fortunate enough for my driver, we are heading to...
Marty, you gotta come back with me. Where?
The next NASCAR Cup race. It's the weekend preview.
We're heading to our first road course race of the season, and it is at the Circuit of the Americas. We got a triple header. Trucks on track Saturday at 1:30 on FS1 for the XPEL 225. Xfinity on track Saturday at 5 p.m. on FS1 for the Focused Health 250. And then Cup on track 3:30 on Fox for the EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix. And practice and qualifying are at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. To go over our picks from last week, I picked William Byron. He got me a whopping 2 points. Matt, you picked Christopher Bell. He got you 36 points, got himself a top 10 as well. And then Denny Hamlin was the pick from Daytona Ron. He picked the winner, and he got you 44 points. So I pick first. And I mean, I picked Tyler Reddick to win Phoenix. I feel like a homer, but like legit, I feel like this is his best shot to win a race this early in the season.
When your driver becomes part of the elite top 10, Whitey,
it's not a homer.
No longer a homer. Yeah,
right.
No longer a homer.
He won here last year at COTA, locked himself into the playoffs. I'm hoping he does it again. In fact, I am bidding on a race win custom from that race last year as we speak. That's part of my distraction. I got 49 seconds before I have to hit confirm bid on this bad boy, but I'm picking Tyler Reddick to win at COTA for the second year in a row.
Confirm it.
36 seconds. You gotta wait for the last like 5 seconds before a bot can get it and drive up the price on you.
Oh, this is vintage Whitey here. Just a pent up, nervous Whitey about to bidding on a NASCAR diecast.
It's been a while since I bid.
Vintage Whitey.
It's been a while since I bid on anything on eBay too, like a long while. How about you, Matt? Who are you picking to win at the Circuit of the Americas?
So there are only 3 drivers to finish in the top 5 the last 2 races at COTA. Whitey, you just picked one of them, Tyler Reddick. There's Ross Chastain, and there's Alex Bowman. I'm taking Ross Chastain. I'm taking that number 1 car to victory lane this week.
I like it. I like it a lot. How about you, Eric? Who are you going with?
I'm gonna kind of step out of the kind of mainstream here, but I'm going with a team that is on the up and up, a team that is getting a lot more money involved now, and this is a team that they are a number 1 team now.
Oh,
and I think the money they're getting, the experience that he's gotten this next gen car at these road courses, puts him in the front to run up front. I'm going with the 34 of Michael McDowell.
Wait, you're not picking Todd Gilliland? I thought that's who you were going with on that one.
I thought about taking our boy SVG. I thought about it.
Oh, SVG making his cup return this week at COTA too. I know.
It's a different animal, I think.
It is. Yeah,
he was so damn good. Like he just had a way of getting that car around a track, though. Like I don't know. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him, but
we'll watch him in practice and qualifying. We'll see how he is, and if he does good, you might want to throw a little bit of money. It's too early for the Vegas odds to be out. I'm curious what they're going to put him at. I bet you Vegas calls him the odds-on favorite. You think, or do you think it's going to be a different driver?
I think it's too early. You keep going, and I will check.
I bet Daniel Suarez ruined someone's day, though. I just have a feeling Suarez is going to overdrive his car, being that he has a win now. He's going to take a little bit of gambling, and when he's a good road course racer, and I don't know. I just feel like he has a possibility to, especially if the one's outrunning him and he's kind of there, or same, like, I don't know. I think some of that Trackhouse camp might stir the pot this week.
You know who Suarez loves to rub fenders with on those road courses too? Michael McDowell.
I know, that's why I said it.
They're always bumping and banging with each other whenever they're around each other.
It's almost why I didn't pick McDowell, because I'm like, I think Suarez, like, in the back of my mind, when you just have like this feeling like, man, they always, and you're right. Like, I'm glad you picked up on that too, because that's the reason why I brought it up. I'm like,
for years
they're
now,
always beating and banging off each other.
No, so you want to know what? As long as McDowell stays clean, qualifies near the front, which I'm assuming he will. How good has front row been qualifying the last couple of weeks? So
good.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Matt, I like the Ross Chastain pick too. Trackhouse in general, probably going to be strong with any of those three drivers because they are all great at road courses. We'll see how Tyler Reddick does. I'm trying to think because, like, man, a couple seasons do to change like your big win guys. Like, if this was 3 years ago, I'd be picking Martin Truex Jr. Marty could go out there and easily win too. I don't know, man. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited for COTA. I'm excited to see this new short track package on the road course too. We have that to think about.
Quick question here for our resident Chase fan. How did none of us immediately jump on that? Like,
it's been a while.
Are we going to see a resurgence of Chase on these road courses? He used to dominate these road courses. Everyone's we would be chomping at the bit to be like, Chase is going to win this. Yeah. And Matt, like, I know you, like, we're all like, with our things, we know we dig a little deeper into our drivers and kind of have a better understanding of what's going on. What is your confidence level as a Chase fan with these road courses? Like, I feel like he was a definite, a few years ago, and now it's not that.
My confidence with him is at about a 7 on road courses, which is still high, right? But like, it was, to your point, Eric, he was our road course king for a few years. Like, it was at a 10. It was always at a 10. Now it's at a 7. I don't know. He's got something. I don't know. Since his injury and last year, like, he's got to figure it out. I mean, I know outside of, I know obviously the 5 and the 24 found victory lane, but they've been off. They've been missing it some way, somehow. Chevy has and HMS has the last couple of weeks. So I'll be obviously super interested. I mean, he's my dude, right? Like, I love him. I don't know. They don't have an answer either. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, he was throwing down good lap times yesterday. He was in top 5 in Phoenix until that race got turned upside down. So he's shown signs, but like, right now he's the 3rd in that stable. How could you argue against that? And he used to be the top dog. So I don't know. He's just gotta dig down deep, and figure it out. And what a better way than at a road course to figure it out.
That's what made me think of it. Like, this could be an opportunity for him to put himself back on the map. Like, put all those people that are talking like, hey, he is 3rd now. Like, oh, what's going on? Like, and I don't know how, like, I feel like he would respond to that. Like, I feel like that's something that he would do, not vocally or out, but I feel like that's in his head. And I feel like that's the drive. I feel like he needs something to drive him. I feel like he's just out there happy to be in the 9 car driving on Sunday. And there's almost an edge that's missing from him in my eyes. I feel like
he's always
some kind of motivation behind him.
He doesn't have that killer in him. Like, I don't know. And you need that. Like, you need that killer in you. And I
like that Christopher Bell interview where he's like,
I wanted to show you all. Like, yeah.
Like, I'm made the Final Four 2 years in a row, back-to-back wins to make it in. Like, and I'm just a nobody. Like, you need to have that kind of, that want to get there. And, it's almost like a weird way to say it, but did Chase winning that championship kind of let him
I mean,
settle in right there? Hey, I won a championship. Okay, I did what I set out to do, and now he needs something else. Like, how do you motivate for a second championship? That's probably a little bit harder than just get your one,
That's the thing, though. I feel like these guys are just motivated to go out there and win every week,
True.
Last season was such an anomaly with Chase, where I don't know if he just got out of his groove or what. I don't know.
He ran well at the end of the season, though. Like, you looked at every week, like, we were talking, like, oh, we thought he was one of those drivers that we brought up because we thought he was running worse than what he was.
You
looked like, holy shit. Like, every week it was like he wasn't getting, because we said, what did he at the end of that season, man? He needed a couple like top fives or something at the end, like in order to like make these jumps. And he was just right there.
He was right there.
Right there.
Like we just didn't hear a lot about him because he wasn't in the playoffs, and we're used to him making deep runs into the playoffs where he's part of those whatever 8-4 cars that people are talking about the last handful of races, and he just wasn't. So he was out of the picture.
He got booed. He got booed.
He got booed yesterday, yeah.
And apparently everyone got booed at Bristol yesterday, though. It wasn't just...
The crowd was just rowdy. I love it.
Yeah.
It was a rowdy crowd. After that truck race, Matt, those fans were fired up.
Yeah, apparently everyone was getting booed. Everyone was real rowdy.
Truck race. I got to go to bed soon, Eric.
You know what's going to happen this weekend? Chase Elliott's going to go out and pull out a win, and we're going to look like a bunch of chuckleheads talking at this one. I hope so for you too, and I hope so for the sport. Put it out in the universe.
We're trying to get, you know what I mean? What's going? Let's get, talk about it a little bit.
But really, I hope Tyler Reddick wins the second COTA race in a row, and we will find out this Sunday. Right now we are 5 races into our 2023 season. Our playoff picture is William Byron, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, and one James Dennis Hamlin finally locking themselves in. And this Sunday, we will find out who will be the next. Will it be Michael McDowell making the playoffs for, third year in a row now? Will it be Tyler Reddick winning his second race at COTA? Or will it be Ross Chastain or SVG? We'll see what happens this Sunday at 3:30 on Fox for the EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix. And we'll break it all down for you right here on the Bump and Run podcast on Monday night from Matt the Statman Reilly. For Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night. The Bump and Run!
There it is.